Alright, YouTube, according to Rush Limbaugh and many other, bizarre talk show personalities and AM radio hosts, there's a new communist plot by Obama to get rid of, white straight men on farms and have a bunch of, lesbian corn and sunflower farms, I guess. It's partly the USDA in partnership, actually, with Cyndi Lauper, who, of course, you'll know, girls just want to have fun. Song by the same title, True Colors, Goonies, all that other good stuff from the 80s. I like Cyndi Lauper. I will say I don't necessarily appreciate her sort of adoration for Hillary Clinton. I think a lot of these leftist celebrities are stuck in the two-party system and don't realize that the Democratic Party is no longer the anti-war progressive party that it was under Jimmy Carter, maybe. That being said, though, I can respect her work on behalf of gay rights and things like that. As a libertarian, I don't care if somebody's gay. In fact, if I ever meet a lesbian farmer, I'm guaranteed to have at least two things in common with them. I like growing things, and I like what else they're generally inclined to be into. So I have no problem with the idea of lesbian farmers. I will say one thing, though. The USDA here is stating, oh, well, we want to get the image of the farmer away from, wealthy white male. I've never had the stereotype that farmers were wealthy. In fact, I think we all realize farmers tend to be relatively poor and turn very little profit on their land. Whether they're unless they're like a niche organic farmer, they're farming truffles or something like that. Otherwise, they tend to be lower middle class at best. Look around here in Vermont, for example. I realize our state tax burden is a lot higher, especially on property taxes, which is why the farms are moving away. The Democrats here don't understand this one bit. I guess don't care if we have any agriculture in the state at all that's left. Dairy farms, cornfields, whatever it happens to be. That's, by the way, why I won't be supporting idiot Sue Minter for governor. But even elsewhere, other than these factory farms that are really just corporate fronts for the food industry at large, these small farmers, they're not wealthy, most of them anyway. So I'm not sure what that's all about, and I don't really care if they're white. I mean, most of these lesbians moving onto these farms or whatever, and to be white too, so who gives a fuck? But yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with lesbian farmers. Maybe they're a little bit less given to farming like carrots and cucumbers and some of those phallic vegetables, but at the same time, I don't care. It just doesn't matter to me. That's the one thing I don't really get about, sort of the Trumpist crowd of the alt-right, which is most of it. They still have this, mud degeneracy thing with homosexuality going on. I just don't get it. I don't care. People are gonna screw who they want, how they want. It doesn't bother me. Gay rights is like a non-issue. It's a non-issue in a legal sense now, too. I mean, it's legal federally for them to get married, so who gives a fuck? And who gives a fuck if they're farming? If somebody's a lesbian and they're capable of farming and doing well at it, who cares? About the only thing I would have a problem with is the idea of the government trying to intervene and get people who don't know anything about farming onto farms. Because that'd be a little bit of a disaster. We've seen this happen twice now in Africa. I think it was Mugabe there, kicked all the white farmers off their farms, put a bunch of urban blacks in charge that didn't know anything about agriculture, and things fell apart. Now he wants them back, and he wants, international aid. Well, you should have let those that actually know how to farm manage the farms. But if somebody's a farmer and happens to be gay or whatever, who cares? Another non-issue, it's funny to see Rush Limbaugh. I'm sure Glenn Beck will explode over this too. Oh, it's horrible. Praise Jesus, please save us. And it's like the Mormon polygamist Jesus anyway. Who's to say he wasn't getting some on the side with Judas or Lucifer or whatever else the Mormon fairy tale espouses. So, yeah, it's something I don't care that much about. In fact, it's kind of a novel idea, I suppose. I don't really think that changing the imagery of the farmer is going to do them any good if they are operating from the premise that people perceive farmers as rich, because I don't think anyone with any common sense or who has ever visited a non-factory farm would ever think of farmers as rich individuals. Maybe somebody who's raising I raise prized thoroughbreds, or I raise prime breeding stock for cattle, or again, I have truffles or something like that. If they're growing like corn, carrots, cabbages and beans, that sort of fare, they're not getting wealthy doing it. Even with federal subsidies, they're not getting wealthy doing it. They end up usually being able to pay back the amount they borrowed to plant the seeds in the first place, and not much more above and beyond that. There's a reason why increasingly young people raised on farms, they're not going back to farming. They're not following in their father's footsteps or their mother's footsteps or whatever, or their grandpappy's footsteps, because they're not willing to deal with it. They can make that much money free, and they can make that much working at Wendy's half the time. So why would they want to live on the family farm? Yeah, you get a wide open space and you say, oh, well, look at all the land I've got. I got 100 acres here. Yeah, but you're making like at most $1,000 an acre anyway in profit on some of these crops, and you're paying most of that back out for the fertilizer or the cow shit that you're using, plus the amount that you've paid to get all the seed and so forth. Now, the reason for this is government intervention in the first place. The government has screwed up the economy such that a family farm can't function very well to begin with. That is their fault prior to sort of the Dust Bowl era. When you've got some of this mechanical interventionism, you don't have this problem, generally speaking. But at the same time, even under the best of circumstances in a truly free market, are these people going to get rich? Generally not. They may be a little bit more wealthy than they are now, but they're not going to become like Vanderbilt or something like that. It's just not going to happen. Your little 100, 200 acre family farm is simply not going to generate enough profit for that. It'd be better, but it wouldn't be stellar for them. They'd be middle class, but they wouldn't be upper class. I don't know what the USDA is thinking putting that statement out. But as far as lesbian farmers go, yeah, they should come to the most gay and lesbian friendly state, which is Vermont, and open up more farms here. They should have like dedicated lesbian farms. That'd be good. I'm trying to think of some vegetables that start with G for girl on girl. Girl on girl grapes. Yeah. An orchard. The oral orchard or something like that. It'd be good. I fail to see the problem with this. I mean, obviously, the stereotype of like a bunch of naked lipstick lesbians running around in the sunflowers with their boobs out, probably not actually happening on the actual lesbian farms. But at the same time, I guess it's a good image, I guess, to hold in your mind. You can tell I'm sort of just mouthing off at this point. But I mean, why would Rush Limbaugh care? Doesn't he want to go visit the lesbian farm? I would think that he does. Maybe he can get some better pills than the ones he's addicted to now. Maybe Glenn Beck can go there and get some organic foods. So he's like slowly going blind and losing his mind even more than he already has. Maybe he can get some organic cotton for his next pair of magical underwear from the South Carolina lesbian farm. Yeah, something like that. That's about all. Peace out.